When I look out that window, there is no age. That view has not changed through that visor, through that hood. It hasn't changed since I was 18 years old. It's the same view, and you could relate to that because
Oh, I
you've had
do.
when you get behind the wheel of Dress to Kill.
They're only that one. 'Cause I could get
Yeah.
in the Lincoln or the Aldo,
They're not
and
the
they're
same.
nice. It's not the same. I could drive the Riviera and back it in without mirrors because I know the car. But you are so right. And I get in that car from the other ones. There is just something I just fall into, and I'm right there, and you can just hear the old songs that blast it out. And that ride, that view, that windshield, that hood. There's no ornament at the end,
No,
but it's like it takes you right back.
back.
All right, everybody, here we go. This is Joe Ray. You are on the Wire Down Show. Today's featured guests are two. They represent the Artistics, not THE, THEE. Artistics. Well known, he's known as also Hector Rivera. He's an original lowrider, original award honoree, class of 24. You brought along with you Shotgun today, your vice president. Both of you guys introduce yourselves. Go ahead first, Hector.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Hector also Rivera. I'm from the Artistics Car Club. I've been in the club since 1980.
1980, huh?
Yes.
And you, Eric?
My name's Eric, known as Chato. Been in the clubs around 06, 07. So it's been almost 19 years.
And you started off with the bikes, right?
Started off with the bikes, half of that, and half of a car club. From 15 and on from the car club.
And worked yourself up to VP.
Yeah.
That's why you're seated on the right side. You're still president.
Yes, sir.
The Artistics started on the west side, out there by the Pico Crenshaw area.
Yes, exactly. It started at Pico and Crenshaw actually at Chris's Burgers, which is no longer there. And we used to have our meetings at the old Sears, which I think the building's still there, but not Sears. We used to have it at the rooftop every Friday.
What do you mean at the rooftop of that? Old Sears and Roebuck out there in East LA Boyle Heights,
Pico.
right?
No, not that Sears.
Not that one?
The Sears, it was off of Pico and Crenshaw.
Okay.
You go down Pico,
Yeah.
heading west, and there was a Sears on your left-hand side. And there was Roof Access, which was a parking lot.
Right.
And we used to have our meetings right there.
So you're
every
from
Friday.
more or less from that whole area?
Excuse me?
You're from that area growing up?
No. I grew up 1 mile west of downtown LA. That's where I grew up at, off of Temple Street and Boyston.
Okay.
That's where I grew up. I guess you could say by Elysian Park, because Elysian Park was on Sunset, off of Sunset, which was the next major street over from Temple.
That wasn't a hard part of town to be influenced into what is a culture now, lowriding, right?
Man, the car club that was in my neighborhood was Ghetto Car Club.
Mm-hmm.
That I remember seeing when I was a kid, and my friend, which was my neighbors, their older brother was the vice president of Ghetto. So it's just weird how I got into lowriding because I didn't have a father. I didn't have no type of role model. It's just when you talk about 100% getting into this, it was all by myself. And I remember going to elementary school. I've said this story before. I would go to elementary school and I would see these black cars parked, in front of the elementary school across the street. There was houses.
What elementary school was that?
Cortez.
Okay.
Cortez, and they changed it now to Betty Placencia, which is on Temple and Edgeware. And I would look at these cars and I go, I want one of those cars. I didn't even know they were bombs. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was looking at. I would just see these older guys kicking back and cleaning them, and I'm right there just walking, going to element, just look, and that always stuck to me. And later on, as I got older, got into the neighborhood and all that, I met those guys, and I always say that Ray Fuentes was a big influence later on because he taught me about detail. You know, he taught me, oh, you got crossbars, paint the whole thing white and you detail them, and and stuff like that, and
Where was
emblems.
Ray from?
He was from Clanton.
Okay.
He was from Clanton. They lived in the neighborhood. They were older guys. His brother Rooster. He was from Clanton too, and Mario Fuentes.
I haven't heard of that name for a long time because my grandparents grew up by the old winery and they had homes in Lincoln Heights, El Sereno. So I saw all that, all the avenues.
Yes.
But I remember all that whole area. There used to be an artist by the bridge going up to Golden State Freeway. It was real famous. He had like a skeleton head. He was well known. Wherever you find his murals and his artwork,
Oh, that's
later on Chaco, he was just badass, man.
Right.
It gave me ideas to put murals on my car, on my trunk of my car. When I first saw him, I tried to track him down, but he would hit and run, and you could never find him. But man, that whole area, Elysian Park and everything, but mostly all bombs, though, right?
Yeah, bombs, and the guys from Ghetto, Kiki, the president, he had a '64 Malibu that
Uh-huh.
he used to hop back in the day. So high, but he was doing it. And I remember they had came back one day with a '57 Nomad, but it wasn't the Nomad; it was a cheaper model. And they won some guy on Whittier Boulevard. They were hopping, and they beat him. And I guess they were hopping for cars.
That's still crazy to even mention that happened because I've had buddies tell me I didn't go down the boulevard all the time. In its heydays, I saw it. I witnessed what was going on down there. I just didn't have a car yet to go down there in its prime. And hopping for pink slip. So you get out there and I don't know what I was doing back then, but you get out there, hop, and you'd lose. Put your
Yeah.
pink slip against it. If this guy hopped higher than you, they weren't doing about what, that high?
Yeah,
And then you owned a car.
yeah.
Just like that. And you have to cough up your car. But there were no problems.
No,
I mean, you just hand over the keys and that was it.
that was it.
So I don't understand it with all the things that used to happen on the boulevard. Eventually it got closed. But nobody ever had a disagreement about, hey, here's my keys.
Yeah,
I
next
lost.
thing you know, I see the car. There was a dirt lot in the neighborhood. The guys took the hydraulics off it and they junked it. It just ended up being somebody came and took it.
Yeah.
Because I used to live right up the hill from Vertel's Police Impound.
Okay.
That's Boyston Street.
Right.
You cross the street and you go up the hill, and I guess Vertel's, they finally came and they got it, but they just wanted the hydraulics. And,
So you witnessed all of that, and then later on, how did the club come in?
How did the club? You know what? It's funny because I got. This is funny. Okay, I got tricked to getting in the artistics because one of my neighbor, he got in the artistics, right? And he had a Malibu at the time. No, he had a Malibu, a '67 Malibu, and he got in. And I used to hang around with gents, but I never got into Gents Car Club.
Mhm.
I used to hang around with them. And he tells me, he goes, hey, gents can't take cars to car shows. And I go, really? He goes, yeah. And I go, well, man, then I want to be from a club where I could go to car shows because that's what I wanted, And
What were their reasons for not?
he was lying to me. That's what I'm saying. I got tricked to getting in the artistics, because he knew that I would get in and be, dedicated or whatever, and next thing you know, I kind of stopped hanging around with gents. Like I said, I never got into gents, just hung around with them, put the posters on the doors and, do the car club dances and all that, and I go, man, I want to go to shows. And at that time, I had a '66. Going back further, my first car was a '63 four-door, right? I bought it off the recycler where you would see a picture, and I bought that along with my mom. We went half and half, and then we sold it. We sold it because I got in trouble, right? Got busted, whatever. And then I bought a '62, which was my own, and then that got stolen from me. So that's when I got my '66. And I lifted that front and back, and that's the car I got into the artistics with. And I got in the artistics mid 1980, maybe late 1980.
So they were already going on for almost 10 years.
They started at 78.
Yeah. And that was a heyday back then, 78.
Yeah.
You want to go back there.
a lot
nothing
of
but
clubs started
paper-plated,
in that years, you know?
I mean, disco was on.
Oh,
There's Donna Summers, sometimes for some, the Bee Gees.
oh, all,
But I mean, there were paper-plated Thunderbirds.
yeah.
76 Caprices were only a couple years old. The LTDs were out there. The Cadillacs just started 77, 8, and 9s. Cougars were out there.
And,
Monte Carlos, wow.
and it's funny because I was the only old car in the Artistics, the only bomb. When I got rid of, I went to 2 meetings, and by the 3rd meeting, I had traded my 66 for the bomb. And I asked Ray, I go, what do you think? Chino Pat, wants to trade me a truck for, he goes, hey, Holmes, anytime you could trade down, do it. And that's what I did. I traded down, and I mean,
You think just growing up in that neighborhood and all that has a reflection on you? I mean, getting in the club with a bomb, that taste, that style, you like that? That was
I
you?
would say so.
Yeah.
Because
You identified with that more?
perfect picture. When I first saw my truck, I was under the influence. We were partying at Highland Park on Avenue 50 something. I forgot. It's 1:00 in the morning, and we're drinking. And we were at Ma's house, and she goes, "Here comes Chino Pat," and I hadn't met him. But when he pulled up, man, he pulled up underneath this light, and the light was just shining on the truck. I was in awe. It was just perfect. The way you had to be there to see it. Since she lived on the corner, it was, I told him, I go, hey, you want to trade? First thing I told him. And he tells me, he goes, talk to me when you're sober. I go, I am sober. Do you want to trade? And he said, yeah, So the next day I was there.
And you were the only bomb. Was Rene San Miguel, our good buddy there, was he already president?
Yes.
How did you do that when he was like a role model? President, had a brand new Cadillac, candy blue. He was competition back then for me especially. Handled himself very well. He likes John Travolta.
He was.
He dressed like him.
He was a woman's man.
Yeah.
That guy, But I'll tell you something, Joe. Me and Rene were really close. He got me a job at Valet Parking, and I would see Rene pull in guys from Imperials, from different clubs. Next thing you know, they're from the Artistics. Because if you remember, we were big.
Oh, I remember that very well. I respect that too. And he handled him and Joey Obeda from the group. I always admired some of these guys that ran their car clubs. They were still young, like myself. The way they handled them, dressed themselves, they're prime examples. And then when you see the amounts of members they had, they were saying something right. They were doing something that everybody followed. And getting to know him for a while there, I go, man, this guy's like me, just different name.
And it's funny, I would see you and him, because I would always help him with the car club dances.
Yeah.
And when I would see you and him talk, I'm like, I wonder who's going to win this battle. I was just like, because I knew you.
Yeah.
I knew, you're a hell of a man.
Yeah.
And so was Rene. And I'm like, I was just, that's me from the outside looking in.
He was a lot like me, and that's what I kind of like that about him. And he was sincere about things. I don't think we ever got into politics or anything like that. I just admired him. Damn, he had a brand new Cadillac and it was candy blue. And then when we competed with each other, he always come and compliment my car, even before the judging even happened. He would tell, oh, you already won, blah, blah. He didn't care, man. He was just, he cared about having a good time back in those times, and that's what it was all about. Man, there were car clubs did start up. If you go back in history, there were a lot of car clubs that started up in 78, and then from there on, lots of them.
Yes.
There weren't that many before that time. There were the basic ones that were out there. Then it just blew up.
Yeah. I mean, we had that West Coast Association, which was Dukes, Imperials, Together, us.
Was Spirit in there?
And I'm not sure if Spirit was there.
But those are the days you just mentioned right now. If you had $250 a month you can afford, you could buy a brand new car back then. Back then, that was still a lot of money. And you take that car paper plated, put some wheels on it, take it down to Dennis Jones and let him stripe it,
Yeah.
and you were set.
Yeah.
And you would take that same car to work every day. You take it everywhere, to the market, flying plaque. But if you're a car club and a way to get your name out there, this is way before even the magazine kicked off. Besides that plaque in the back window, you put a poster up on the chrome strip of the door. It was what, about, if I remember, 16 by 24. And you would tape those across your door, and you would go up and down wherever everybody cruised down the boulevard, and you'd advertise the Artistics present a battle of the DJs at this such and such hall, you know, in 2 weeks. And then, and the crowds that we would get, I mean, everybody got some 1,500 people would go to an event that, and you had to put these posters on telephone poles back then. You don't even see them anymore.
No.
And they would be full of staples because all the car clubs did it. But that was a name to put your name wherever you go to work, downtown, wherever you went, all the famous freeways you get off of. If there was a telephone pole, some car club there had a dance that was going to come in about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
They were announcing it. And the name, you started to recognize the popularity of these clubs because their names were everywhere, not just in the back window.
I mean,
that's how we got recognized.
I mean, like, there was Gents, there was Paradise, Way of Life, Brown Breed.
Brown Breed, yeah.
You know, I mean, Dynasty.
Amigos were down here too.
Amigos, you know, and there was
New Trend.
New Trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of clubs, you know, and that's what's crazy is like there was a few clubs, but they were all big. And now these days, there's thousands of clubs, you know. It's like, it's amazing, you know.
And some of them clubs had shotgun riders. The shotgun riders are probably what hurt a lot of car clubs back then because they had nothing to lose. They didn't even have a car. And they would just drag down the clubs back then, especially some of the older ones. But it all changed. I mean, everything that happened from the past, from the bumper jacking days and the Gang on Wheels, around that time, man, up into the 80s, things just completely changed. The music, the way everybody dressed, all of it. And it was a great time. You could take your car. You didn't have to go down Whittier. Man, you can go up and down Sunset and cruise right into Hollywood, especially in your area.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've cruised I could say I cruised all the boulevards from Huntington Park, Pacific to the Valley, Crenshaw. I went to Crenshaw in 79.
Yeah.
I went to Crenshaw. And it was crazy. Everybody was parking this big ass parking lot at the Burger King. You know, and I went with one of my friends and he told me, don't hit the switches. Don't hit the switches. And I go, why? He goes, because these guys, they'll follow you home. You know what I mean? And that's how it used to be crazy back then. You know?
Eric, where do you jump into in this picture? Where do you just jump into the club? Around what time again?
This was
When
around
this is all going on?
06, 07.
Yeah.
I think the last show, super show that they threw at the San Bernardino,
Yeah.
I think that was probably when I got in there. Like, that was my first big show that just happened to be the last show they
It was
threw.
hot out there, man.
Yeah.
It was a great show, man.
But yeah,
you can always count on that.
I think that was my first, to me, like, big super show.
It was a great show.
It was
yeah.
a good show. Yeah, it was around that time. I mean, I don't even think I met him until probably a year after I got in the bike club.
Do you remember back then with the avenues in Clover? There was Clover, there's Clanton.
Oh, Cypress Park.
Clanton, you know that there's a street called Clanton,
Clanton, yes.
and that has to go back to that famous cowboy movie,
yes. Well, like my neighborhood.
Tombstone.
Yes.
Ike Clanton. Well, that family moved out here too. Just like Wyatt Earp supposedly moved, if everybody watches the movie, up to San Francisco to prosper in other types of goods. The Clanton family moved over here and prospered very well, and that's why that street is named after them. And then the gang is more well known than that. But I remember Clover, my grandparents, where they grew up. I one time took my Riviera when I first got it, and I wanted to cruise around where my grandparents were from, and I went around those areas, and I went up the wrong hill. And I went through there. I went through one of the streets where all the guys were hanging out in their bombs and everything. I got chased out of there. I didn't even have a plaque yet because you don't go into certain neighborhoods with a plaque. I got chased out of there, man, and just my car was a little bit faster at that time. So but there were areas you had to respect up and in there.
Oh
But
yeah,
mostly all bombs, man. I mean, gangster-looking bombs before they became gangster.
yeah. I mean, I got a lot of friends that, they're from neighborhoods and they got clean cars, but they don't believe in going to shows. They got clean cars, and they just picnic or something, and they kind of stay secluded. It's just I know everybody in the car club world, but then I know that different people from different neighborhoods. You know, uh, Frogtown,
Yeah.
Avenues, Cypress, Clanton, Diamond Street. I mean, it goes on and on. And these guys, they just
yeah.
don't. It's just not them,
Yeah.
But it's amazing,
A different era.
Yeah.
So you guys are already close to, well, you're at 47 years already, the history of the club. You started off with all the traditions and everything that you have, the heritage of the club. I mean, great leaders and founders. You started off with bikes, right?
Yeah, with bikes. When I got in the club, I don't even think I even knew what clubs were. 'Cause
Yeah.
I came from a family where that wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
We started seeing bikes with just kids around the neighborhood where I grew up in Southgate, just riding bikes. It's not until I went to school with one of my friends from school called me up and say, do you have a bike? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not selling the bike.
Yeah.
He goes, no, do you want to be a part of this club that we're branching off of a car club called the Artistics? I didn't know what that was. And I say, yeah, I'll take their word for it. So they came, they looked at my bike, and right away they were like, it has potential. We were getting maybe about a few weeks before the first show. It was the first show they used to do in Downey at AutoZone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was like a little show. I don't know if it was a Toys for Tots. It was some little show they used to do right there. That's the first time I ever took the bike. The first time they ever gave me the colors, and I've been riding with them ever since. Since around that time. After that, I started getting into, being around more in the scene. I didn't know what that was, to be honest. Now I look at it more like this is my peoples, because these are the people that I have got influenced by them, and now my kids are fortunate enough to grow into that now, where they don't gotta look at other, they don't gotta go around and pretty much same to what I did, because I didn't see none of that. Now my kids are pretty much very influenced just as I was.
Are there any chapters?
No.
No chapters at all?
No. We had Orange County, we had the Valley back in the day,
Uh-huh.
and everybody left. I mean, back then, and then Orange County, they left recently, about, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years.
Yeah.
7-8
Yeah.
years.
Who came up with the name?
I want to say
I've heard that story before from Renee, how it came apart, but that was a long time ago.
I want to say Renee, and Tony's brother. I forgot his name, but it was Renee. The original guys that started it was Renee, Tony's brother, which I forgot his name. I want to say it's Rudy, but I could be wrong. Mikey, Dario, Otto. Those were,
I remember Otto too, man.
yeah. Those,
Is he still around?
yes, he's still around.
So how does the word come about?
What do you mean?
Artistics.
The word?
Yeah. How did they come up with that name?
I wasn't there when they started the club, so I don't know I don't know what made them think about that.
Renee kind of like told me that it's a group of gentlemen. Hopefully they're all artistic if they want to get into the club, and they put that talent or that potential into their cars. And that's what he wanted from every member. He wanted to separate from all the car clubs and show that they were all unique and artistic in their own way. He wanted the baddest cars. He wanted to compete with the big boys, knowing that you guys just started. That's what his goal was.
Yeah.
So I thought okay.
And I
You're
remember,
off on the right track.
I remember there was one year we were at the sports arena, and we lined up next to you guys.
Yeah.
And I was the only one that wasn't Candy. everybody in our club was candy, and everybody in your club was candy.
Yeah.
And that was, I was like, wow, this is a, a royal battle, like,
Yeah, it
you
was.
know, because it's lifestyle. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, it's
Well,
like,
it was good times though, man. But
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
everybody was like side by side. There's no competition there, man. We're just showing that we had the best of the best clubs out there,
Mhm.
right down that aisle. Good Times Sports Arena, right?
Yeah,
Who would have known?
I got to go there a few times.
What is how does the club run? Chain of command. I always ask that about everybody because every car club runs its own way.
I mean, this is what I tell the guys. Okay, I go, all you guys are grown men. These are our rules. I only enforce them if I see something getting out of hand. And sometimes that's a bad thing. Sometimes that's a good thing, because I want everybody to be relaxed and just have a good time. That's, I mean, like I said, if I see something getting out of hand, I will bring it up, or else I'll tell Chato. I go, hey, talk to so and so and let me know what's going on, and that's it. Our rules, man, they're from '78. The only thing I've ever
Are they
changed,
written?
yeah, they're written, and the only thing I've ever always changed was just the price. Like, there ain't no more $5 dues. You know what I mean? We pay $40 now.
Yeah, we.
And
do
there's
too
other
now.
clubs that pay
It
even
was-
more
it
than
used to be
$40.
$5.
Yeah, like stuff like that, or a fine, a $10 fine. You know what I mean? So
Car
just-
clubs every week back then. There was a meeting every week,
every Friday.
every
know?
Friday.
And I tell the guys, man, I wouldn't know what to talk about every Friday.
Yeah, we had meetings sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was just like, it was crazy back then. I mean, every 10 cars that went up Atlantic, 6 of them were lowriders. They had car lots selling
lowrider,
cars with already, they were lowriders. They had rims on them already with a decal pinstriping. So, yeah, it was
remember that.
incredible back then.
I remember that. And it's, we will have our meetings Friday nights, and next thing you
Where
know,
was that at?
At Sears.
At Sears still?
Now we have them at the park, but
Hmm.
back then when we had them at Sears, after the meeting we'll drink and then let's go to Hollywood. There we go. Every Friday.
You have a VP, you had your treasurer, sergeant at arms, and all that, car
Yeah,
committee, all
yeah.
of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep members. You need a revolving door for members to be getting in, and then members do leave, especially when their cars
And
their
that
cars are in
happens.
the shop. They lose interest. They don't want to represent, and people look down on them. Well, you don't really have a car right now, so some of them leave, go on a vacation, and hopefully they come back when their cars are finished.
Yeah, and that
We all
happens.
go through that,
all,
yeah.
all the time. Whether it's a big club or a small club, it's a rotating door. People leave, people come in.
Your 48 truck called Rapper's Delight started it all for you. It got you on a roll right there, that truck.
That truck, man, and you're gonna trip out what I say, because I think in this way you're like me. It's when I look out that window, there is no age. That view has not changed through that visor, through that hood. It hasn't changed since I was 18 years old. It's the same view. And that sometimes gives me a reality check. Like, wow, it's, and you could relate to that because
Oh, I
you've had
do.
when you get behind the wheel of Dress to Kill.
They're only that one. 'Cause I could get
Yeah.
into Lincoln or the Aldo,
They're not
and
the
they're
same.
nice. It's not the same. I could drive the Riviera and back it in without mirrors because I know the car. But you are so right. And I get in that car from the other ones. There is just something I just fall into, and I'm right there, and you can just hear the old songs that blast it out. And that ride, that view, that windshield, that hood. There's no ornament at the end,
No,
but it's like it takes you right back.
it takes you back
There's no other
to
view.
those. I mean, wow, it's
That's interesting you say that. 'Cause
and
that is so damn
the
true.
the other thing too. I've been cleaning the same plaque for all these years. When I clean that plaque, Joe, I still feel like a teenager. Right there with my brass saw and, cleaning it. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, I've been cleaning this plaque for over 40 years. And I still feel the same pride. That's I'm very passionate about lowriding. I don't love it. I'm passionate about it. And if I see somebody talking down about it, I'll get defensive. I'll say, you know what? No, it's not like that. You know, I'm a hardworking man. I've worked hard for everything I've had. I mean, I don't think there's an older truck than mine that's still around. The only one that's older than mine is El Bandito,
Yeah.
you know, which is from your club.
Yeah.
That's the only one. But it's still when that I could pull it out in a drop of a dime. It's there. You know.
There's just something about those trucks, even from back in the day. San Diego had theirs. San Jose had their trucks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cool era. Lowrider was just starting out. The magazine was just starting out.
Yeah.
It was pretty good times. You had an El Camino, a 59 El Camino.
Yeah, I built a 64, which was just original. I built that in the 90s, and I would drive it every day to work. That was like my everyday car. Original AC car. I redid everything. All I did was put a moonroof in it. And I ended up selling it because I took it to the swap meet. Some guy called me out on it. I threw him a high number. He said yes. I couldn't back down. I couldn't be a bullshitter, you know. So I sold him the car. But I got that. I had my convertible first, my 50, you know. And then I bought the El Camino. You know, and my journey with the club, it's always been to help people, you know. I've always.
How do you do that? You mentioned before, I don't want to take it too personal, but you've guided yourself down the road. You're responsible for you. You didn't have a father, you said.
Nothing.
And this
that's
is where
what's
you're
weird.
at.
And that's what's weird is
It's not weird.
it's just I really
You could have the best father in the world. You could have the no father in the world. You could have the worst father in the world. But you grow up a certain way. At the end of the day, you're the one that's got to die when it's time for you to die. You have to, we don't listen to our parents anyways,
right.
even though they try to guide you, but you're responsible for yourself and where you really go. And everybody needs to grasp that. And look where you went. Look what you've done. And you've been a father figure to everybody out there. Isn't that? And if you had no father, if you had a father, you probably wouldn't be this way. So that guy upstairs has his plans.
Yeah, I don't know. That's true. Very true.
Yep.
You know, my brother, I helped him with his car. A lot of the things on his car, they're my
You're older
ideals.
than him?
Yes.
Older brothers do that. I got on my brother's ass all the time. Clean your room, make your bed. You ain't leaving the room. Clean your white walls. Clean your wires. The plaque's dirty. You got to paint that car, man. Come on. I'd pick colors for him, and I was on his ass his whole life, poor guy. But because I was his oldest. Were you like that with your brother?
You know, it's funny because it all circles around the red truck. It's funny, you know, because I started bringing him with me to car shows when he was a little kid.
Yeah.
I go, you want to go to a show? Oh, yeah. Okay. You got to clean the white walls. That's how I started him. And I don't mean started him, but I wanted him to earn it. You're not just going to jump in the truck and that's it, you know? And then as I saw he was getting better, I go, hey, well, start cleaning the bumpers and the chrome and I'll wax the body, the truck, you know? And that's how, you know, I got him into it. And then when he got old enough, me and my friend Fat Joe, rest in peace, lived in the neighborhood. He started Ghetto Life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And me and him lifted my brother's car. We took it to Al Martinez. He put that first blue paint job on it with the flake top.
Badass painter, man.
And I had my brother's car for his graduation. It was right there at Salesian High School. It was right there, laying front and back. It didn't have rims. We didn't get to, you know, couldn't afford the rims, but it was sitting on hubcaps, flake top. Yoya did the custom interior in it back then. And he was one of the only kids that graduated with a car like that. You know, his car was there.
Salesian High School, huh?
Yeah.
We were doing so good until you mentioned that high school, damn it. But I mean, he goes on, that 65 that he builds, damn, I mean, you had to have some kind of, some type of impression you had to make on him, experience everything that you've done. I mean, you were probably his father figure, and you got him to build a car like that. If that car wasn't lowrider of the year at its time, it had everything, the color, the whole. That was a badass car, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the point systems and the categories were probably. I thought that was one of my favorite cars. I thought for a time there that represented as one of the best lowriders in its year when it broke out.
Yes.
You think he got discouraged by that?
No, because
Not
you know,
winning?
me and my brother, one thing we would always do at the hotel after we would set up the car, or even before he went to that caliper of having his car like that.
Old school, new school, man.
Yeah,
That car was built.
we would
So
love
nice.
we would love to kick back and
Yeah.
and just talk, look at the judge's book when I was showing the red truck competing in that before he went into his journey, you know,
Right.
and we'll just talk, you know, like cars, you know, like it was, and even when he did his car, you know, and we would still just at the hotel room. That's what we would do. Just talk, you know, like, oh man, what do you think, bro? You think I might have it? I don't know. Well, that guy got this, you know, and never really not talk bad on nobody. It was always about the competition, you know.
I remember the Fresno show when you guys were sitting there, and I was worried too. I go, who's going to pull this one off?
Hmm.
If I were Judge Dan, I would have picked, that was my car. I even told you that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you know, the judges are going to go their way, and that's what they're hired to do. And we're going to have our disagreements sometimes, but I was never in a position to go and pick out a car. In my position, I couldn't take any side. So,
Hmm.
but man, what a car that was. You built that bomb, that 50, the beautiful gold, and we're talking about it's all Ford Navigator, but
That car
that
is all
50
for.
Chevy Deluxe convertible. Tell us about the paint job, Mario Auto Works first, because they got the baddest pearls.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was blessed that Mario Senior painted the red truck,
Yeah.
you know, and I
Oh,
think,
man.
and that might be, I think it was second to the last. That
Is
he
it
had
the
painted.
same color candy as his? Did he use the same one?
You
or
know
no?
what? I believe so. I believe so. Candy. It's a candy brandy wine.
Is it lacquer? Oh, if it's brandy wine, it's House of Colors.
Yes. And then the convertible. I went back and they painted the convertible for me, and I went with that Ford color. You know.
Navigator Gold, huh?
Yeah. I think it's such.
Did they added their own little twist in there? There's a pearl in that car that's
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Yes. They put a pearl
A
in
little
it,
silver mist in there somewhere.
and I mean Fonzie did the mural. You know. I mean, low riding. You know what, Joe?
How long ago was this that Fonzie did the mural?
I want to say 2000.
God, he's badass still, man, but just a cost to get his work now.
Yes. Yes. He me and Fonzie were good friends. And it's funny, you know, my son, rest in peace, you know, low riding's been really good to me. It's always low riding's always been there for me. When I lost my son, it was a dark time in my life, you know. And he I met Fonzie because of my son. I met the Diabas because of my son. My son was that little kid that would go with me to the car shows. Same thing. You want to go? You got to clean the hubcaps. You know, well, at this time now the rims or wax the chrome, you know? And he would love to go. He loved to talk to people. He went to St. Isabel, you know, Salesian. My daughter, she went to St. Matthias, you know. She went to, I just said the name, St. Isabel,
Mm-hmm.
right there. And my son just liked to talk to people, and he knew how to carry himself. And Albert would always say, like, "Who's your dad?" Like when he went up to Albert, "Oh, is this your car?" And like he just blah, 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 blah. Like who are you? Who's your dad? You know. And because of my son, I got my truck painted by them, and then the convertible. You know.
Having hear all the stories that he's talking about that's pretty much he has to be a role model for you
Oh, definitely, yeah.
to be in the club
He really showed me a
and
lot
now
throughout the
jump up in
years.
office.
Definitely. I mean, I look up to him throughout these years because,
You're setting him up to pass the torch.
Yeah, somebody has to. You know,
Yeah, they do.
they have to, and I tell the guys this. You know, because right now there's a lot of young guys in the club. You know, and I tell them, I go, hey, one day I'm not gonna be around. You know, I'm always anywhere I could help, I help them.
That what you just said, one day you're not going to be around, has to hurt because, you know, Mr. D'Alba passed away. It killed me to see his bomb out there.
It does.
I mean, that paint looked brand new. I said it before in another show. He left it over to his kids that will take care of that just like he would want, because they grew up with their dad. They got all his talent. Man, that was a bad paint job, and now your painter's gone. You know what I mean?
I'm almost
then-
scared to bring out the truck.
Yeah, because now you know no one's going to be able to fix it. That's what happened with me when Mario passed away. I appreciated my paint job even more because there was no way I didn't have anybody that can fix it. But then, you know, Joe Epstein also worked on your car.
Yes.
And that man, just like that, he's gone too. And it's like, man, we hook up more or less. It used to be car shows. And now it's just all
Yeah, he did the pipes.
funerals and things like that, man. When he passed away, God, that hurt too.
And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but it hurts me more now.
Yeah.
You know, it hurted me a lot when Mario Senior passed away.
It prepares you more because you see everybody around you that were mentors
Yeah.
before you or even after you are going. And then you have to start wondering, hey, man, what's going to happen here? Who's going to take it from here on? And grab that torch, hold it up high, and remember everything I went through and did. You know,
And Jesse from Imperials, I'll never forget. I went to his bedside in East LA his last few days. And I told, hey, Jesse, how you doing? He goes, oh, how's it going? You know, I'm doing good. And you? You know, I got good days and bad days. And I'll never forget what he told me. He goes, it was me and my brother that went. He goes, you know, how's Renee doing? I go, he's doing okay. I go, he's still around doing the jockey thing, you know? He goes, you know what? He goes, just keep it going. Keep your club going. And stuff like that, I take it personal, you know, because like I said, I'm really passionate about it, you know? And I tell my daughter, I go, hey, if Eric don't want to do it, you might be the first girl. You're going to have to run the club or you're going to have to do something.
he's going to have to put
you know?
down that camera,
Yeah.
take the wheel.
And we're building her car right now, you know? We're working on her car. That's father-daughter project that we got going, you know?
You've influenced a lot of people in your lifetime. I remember back in the days being editor, we came out with a couple departments, and one of them was called Image. And you had the right image that was out there, and the image was like being a leader, and people followed you. And speak softly, carry a big stick, but it's by your actions and how you handled yourself, and you had been around, and that's why you got Image. You've won icons of lowriding. You've got awards that way too. Original lowrider, you won original award, the original honor award.
Yes.
So you portray different characters. You're either original, Image, you're a leader, you're just about all of the above.
Yes. National
Where
Lowrider
do you-
Hall of Fame, too.
Yeah. Where do you see your club going on from here?
I just, you know what? As long as we're out there, because to me there is no number one club. You know, we're all in this together. You know, we're
Mhm.
just one big happy family. You know, and as long as we're out there and keeping it going and putting out nice cars, I mean that's what matters.
You go back to those days where your mom used to go to Sears
Oh yeah.
and you were looking out the window looking forward, to looking out the window to find a lowrider.
Oh yeah.
Let me see a lowrider. Let me see one.
Oh yeah. Me and my friend Juan, we used to say this thing, de mi club, from my
Mhm.
club.
Yeah.
If I would see one first, I would tell him, hey, de mi club, you know, that's my club. He's from my club. Just joking around, being those kids, you know. And my mom, you know, driving to Sears, you know. And yeah, that's one of the things we used to do. It was I didn't have a car, but I knew, or by then I already knew what a lowrider was, you know. And
Where do you see the future of lowriding going? You have a young guy right here that represents being vice president of the Artistics. You look into the future, obviously, by having him in that position. So you see your club going into the future. What's the future like in your view? Say we'll put you in Rapper's Delight right now, sit you in there and look out that window. Where is lowriding going?
wow, you
Well,
know,
there's a lot of there's good stuff, there's bad stuff.
I mean, as a whole, keep on building better and nicer cars. Everybody, you know, because we're second to nobody, Joe.
I know.
You know, these guys with the hot rods, you know, I hear them talk.
They don't have the passion. You said passion before. They don't have that. None of those guys do. They could build another one because they own a place, they own a company with machinery, and they can build whatever they want. I mean, if you have endless money, do you really care what color or what you're building as long as it probably wins that big trophy and then next? Do you really have a love for that car? No, unless you have your hands, your heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears is into it. Then you appreciate. That's what passion is. That's why we differentiate. We're just different from all other car cultures and in industries out there.
Yeah, and
Passion's,
it's family too, you know. Like
passion's in our souls. So
I've always gotten my kids involved, you know. My daughter, same thing, you know. You want to go clean the chrome? That's, you know, and
she has a love for it too because she gets out there and takes pictures of all the cars.
yeah, yeah.
She's all into that.
She's been doing it for a while, you know, and everybody's gonna know. A lot of people don't know who she is, that she's a girl. Everybody thinks she's a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it because she'll probably say, "Oh, why do you tell everybody for?" But when she brings out her car, everybody's gonna know.
Is it a secret?
What?
The car that you guys are building?
Oh, it's a wagon. We're building a wagon, but we're putting a twist to it. So I don't want to speak on that too much because then you never know who you might be giving an ideal to. It might be 2 steps ahead of you. So, but yeah, it's gonna be unique, you know, something different, you know.
Are you going to all your old builders? Can we still afford them? If you know them pretty well.
Oh my God. She, you know, one thing my brother would always say, he goes, "Why do your ideals always cost me money?" And I tell him, I go, "Bro," I go, "Do you like them?" Yeah. So then, okay, you know, I mean, you know, and that's the same thing my daughter tells me. "Man, Dad, you know, I could have been done with this, but you know, you ain't your idea. Well, do you want to do it?" And she tells me, "Yeah." So, you know, okay, well, let's do it. You know.
Part of being an original or being an image or being in any award that you get or the Hall of Fame is quality is everything.
Yes.
Craftsmanship is detail. It goes a long ways because you got a lot of people in your family. If you've been a mentor to not your immediate family, your club, and everybody else that has known you, they're going to follow your role and they're going to nitpick and see where you are at your weakest. And if you cover all your bases, that's who you really are.
I mean, I've helped guys from other clubs. Twin from Majestics, I helped him out before.
Yeah.
I'll go to his house and I'll go get dirty and, you know, and I mean, just, you know, Nick, you know, Nick, Doc's brother, I helped him out one day with his car. His hydraulics weren't working. And I helped him out, you know, rest in peace, Doc, man. He was
it's a different character.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I like
him.
that guy.
I miss that guy so much. Man, you can't replace some of these members. You guys have lost a few members in your club.
Yeah. You know.
What were the famous cars so that everybody knows?
Well, you
come from your car club.
We got Midnight Madness, Renee's.
Yeah.
You know, you have my brothers, of course, my truck. You know, Felix Salazar with his panel, April's Dream.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a handful of well-known cars. You know,
Your reunion, your 50th reunion's coming.
yeah,
Planning for that, getting ready for that. It's hard to believe, huh?
yeah.
Where did all the years go?
I know.
It's a badass ring you're wearing today.
Hey,
Original lowrider.
original lowrider.
It was a long time coming though for you too. Even back in the days when I was with somebody else there with lowrider, you belonged in the Hall of Fame too. But I knew your time was coming. I also knew you were a patient man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have been there a long time ago.
And you know, I'm not that kid. Hey, teacher, choose me. I want to
know
read.
you're not.
I'm that kid in the corner, like, just, I feel it's more deserved and owned, and, it's more deserved that way.
In
For
all the
me.
years that I've known you and watched you too, I think at the Hot Wheels at their factory
Yes.
that time they had a little show there, and I got a chance to break away from everything, and we had a talk, cars, clubs, the whole thing. A way different conversation than this one.
Yes.
It was about low riding and cars and doing this and doing that. It was a good conversation. You would never know we were from different car clubs but we lived the same way. And it was a good conversation. I left that day, and I think that's probably the only break I ever had in my life. And I'll always appreciate that conversation we had when I left. And there's some great things about low riding. And there's some things you carry on forever. But, mentioning about the windshield, man,
Isn't that so
No,
true?
it is, and that's who we are, and that's the job he gave you, and he can't give you the whole 40, 50 years and put it in you and tell you, here, no, this is what you're going to do. Here's my will, you're going to carry my your legacy.
Yeah.
But you got a daughter there, I'm sure that'll kick some ass too if it doesn't happen her
A
way.
lot,
or
a lot
your
of
way.
guys, it's kind of weird because a lot of guys, they think she's not cocky, but like, oh, she thinks she knows it all. But you know what? I'm her teacher. I teach her everything. I had her out there when we were working on her frame, grinding and everything. Hey, I can't get no nails. I go, well, sorry, boo. You gotta, forget your nails. We're gonna get dirty. And
Oh, yeah.
and I go, the reason I do this with you, Desiree, because I want you, when anybody asks you about your wagon, which that wagon was originally my son's. And when he passed away, we put it away. And then she goes, you know what, Dad, I'm ready. I'm ready to work on it.
Eric, VP, Vice President Eric, you have any shout outs other than this man right here? Any other mentors that you've had in your life
the
that
former
put you also helped you take this position and on?
the former members we used to have.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from them.
Yeah.
They really taught me how to be detailed, really detailed. Have most importantly, your white walls clean. Something, maybe even the rubbers.
Fingerprints on the window.
Yeah,
Oh, man. I hated all of that.
Yeah.
cleaning.
I enforced it, but I had yellow white walls all my life.
That's those Fight 20s. That's
Yeah.
how they are.
I just, I ain't going to spend. I'd rather wax my car than clean my white walls. But that's how we were all raised back in the days. Who else is your influence in your life? Any shout outs to anybody out there?
Wow. I mean, I think, you know what? I think everybody could be my influence.
Took a
'Cause
piece of everybody.
a piece of everybody. Because you know what? We all take from each other. Honestly, we do. You might see something in my car, and say, oh, that's pretty crazy. I'll think of doing that on another car or something. Or you might see his car and say, oh, I think everybody's an influence,
Community events. You do anything for the community?
support.
Shows, anything like that?
You know what? I tell the guys, I feel that we're too small to throw a show, because I know I used to see what Renee used to go through when we used to do with the West Coast Association, when we used to do the show in Huntington Park High School. And I used to see all the stuff he used to go. I used to help him with the car club dances. So it's a lot of work. And I tell the guys, I go, we could do it. I mean, but are you all of you guys willing to work? Because It's not about having fun. It's work, you know, and that's what it takes.
I can go back into this town here, Orange County, and remember. You remember the salsa show?
Yes, we used to be part of that.
That was around the 80s, man. And I know you guys were a part of it. They'd have a cook off there and the whole deal, man. And that was a great show.
Yes.
And who would have known we're still here today?
Yeah.
Guys like you. You guys have a website or anything?
No, not
Instagram, anything like that?
Not really. I
No?
mean, I got my Instagram, but I don't put it. I don't put it out there like that. Like I'm just there, you know. I'm not too phone crazy, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But-
Better things to do, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, I'm always. Last weekend we were pulling out the motor on this 51. I got it in the back of my dually right now. It's like, you know, other member help him detail this motor and stuff. You know.
Any future plans, club? Any dates? Anything you guys going to? Shows? Anything like that? Picnics, barbecues?
Honestly, right now, we shut the club down for a year
Yeah.
because I got about 4 cars that are getting close, maybe to coming out. And why keep on burning out,
The same
'Cause-
ones? Yeah. I know.
yeah.
I go through that too.
you know? So, you know what? Let's just shut it down and, you know, really just give it a push
Yeah.
and try to get these cars out, you know? And
More money, more time to bring them out now. They're a lot older though too.
yes.
I know we talk about paint jail and bash everybody out there, but it's your fault for taking a car to that shop. But realistically, there's a lot of good painters and there's a lot of good shops out there too. It just costs too much money now to build a lowrider.
It does. It really does. I mean, when I painted my truck the first time, lacquer at Diamond Motors, $450, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Long gone are those $250
You know?
paper plated brand new Thunderbirds. They're long gone is all of that though also.
That's not even paint.
How did you get the nickname also so everybody knows?
I was the heaviest one from all my homeboys, you know? So I stuck it out with Oso, and that was it, you know?
You ran it back in those times. You ran that because you were the biggest one.
Yeah.
Still are big, man. Big at heart. You always will be, and we got a long ways to go still.
Oh, yeah.
That's your VP there, but you got that chair, president right there. We're gonna go for a couple more views out that front windshield.
Oh, have
Got a
to.
lot more to
I
go.
love it. It's just, you know?
Also, I want to thank you for being here, man. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
you represent image, you represent original, you Hall of Fame. You got a good guy to follow through. That could be your dad right there. Let's never forget, everybody, what was said here. Also, I'll see you at the next car show down the road, man.
God's willing, for sure.
You know, that's part of our lifeline. But there you go, everybody. The Artistics Car Club. Some good stories here, man. From a good man. You see the future of this car club and where it's going. Other than that, we're going to go to another episode next week. Until then, The Artistics on the Wired Down podcast show. All right, everybody. Thanks for being with us.